Kamaru Usman comments on Ian Garry versus Carlos Prates, breaks down the matchup, and shares his thoughts on the stakes that it holds. This welterweight clash was announced by Dana during his latest livestream, as he has recently taken on the role of a breaking news reporter for UFC, after the whole crackdown on leaking of the fights in the works to reporters, who then did their job and shared the information with the public. From the latest batch of these announcements, one of the interesting matchups that the community got very excited about is Garry versus Prates, a welterweight bout between two contenders with dynamic styles. Prates is kind of new to the scene, and he's riding a 4-fight winning streak, having finished all 4 of his UFC opponents. Garry's own undefeated streak was broken after his decision loss to Shavkat Rakhmonov, which was a closely contested fight. These two will now headline an event at the end of this month. Here's what Kamaru thinks about the matchup.
It's a banging fight because Carlos Prates has kind of proved, he's kind of proven himself as, hey, a guy that can headline, a guy that the company can get behind to go out there and deliver a good big show. So I think this is a perfect main event to slide in there. Ian Garry's looking to kind of rebound and get himself back on the winning track, and Carlos Prates, you know how I feel about Prates. You know, he going out there trying to do his thing again. And I mean, these guys, you know, the winner of this fight, definitely, these guys kind of throw their name back into the hat to where they're just a couple of fights away from fighting for that UFC welterweight title.
Yeah, now Ian Garry, what number is Ian Garry? Because that's, I know
he's maybe 9 or something. I'm not sure.
Okay, so Prates, okay, so if he is 9, let me see.
Ian Garry is, 7.
Ian Garry Machado. He's number 7. We got Kamaru Usman at number 4. Yeah, dude.
Paul Felder and Michael Bisping react to Colby Covington, claiming that Paul Felder got tied to a toilet via handcuffs by the military police. This whole thing came as a result of Felder's recent comments on Covington and the character that he puts on, in response to Paddy Pimblett saying that Colby kept looking down to avoid eye contact when the two ran into each other. This amused Paddy, who got to see the contrast of the former welterweight title challenger's attitude and personality in real life versus on the internet, where Pimblett has often become a target for him. So, Felder talked about that during a podcast, and Colby felt the need to respond to this terrible character assassination, of course. So he made a claim that a drunk Paul Felder got chained to a toilet on a military base where Colby was also present. Felder's manager even came out and denied that any of that is true.
To be honest, like Brian Butler tried to go on, my manager from when I was fighting, tried to go on. He did an interview and he tried to clear the air. Bro, I even told this to him the second it released. I said, you just made it so much worse. The fact that you're out there trying to do damage control, trying to even fuel this fire is exactly what he wants. That's all he's doing. He's just being Colby Chaos Covington, because he had another video that I was tagged in before he went and did this, where he was saying the same thing Harrington was saying, where somebody must have asked him, what do you feel about Felder saying that you're older, that you're nearing the end? And he even said, well, I'm 37. Like, he's just being an analyst. That's what these guys are supposed to do. I got love for Felder, nothing but respect, and mentioned being on the base and having respect. And then suddenly he's going to bring up that I was handcuffed to a toilet and all that. No, I broke a toilet. I broke a toilet by myself in my room because I was mad. And then they came to my room to calm my ass down. I calmed down. I moved rooms. I signed the toilet seat the next day as a plaque to my time there at the Joint Base.
Magomed Ankalaev reveals that his recent grappling session with Islam Makhachev didn't go so great for him. After becoming the light heavyweight champion, Ankalaev naturally also became one of the top celebrities in Dagestan, and he's been doing more and more media appearances recently. This media tour included a segment where he took questions from fans for about half an hour. Magomed talked about to what degree becoming champion has changed his life, his thoughts on the rematch with Alex Pereira, and other random things, with nothing especially interesting. The most interesting part of this whole segment came when a fan asked him about Arman Sarukian's chances against Islam in a rematch. He gave his answer, and in the end, made a comment alluding to a rough grappling session he recently had with Islam, which Makhachev's teammate first talked about in an interview with a Russian channel, Ushataika, days ago. When talking about Islam's unique grappling ability, Gaji Rabadanov claimed that Makhachev regularly spars with fighters much heavier than him, and that recently he grappled with Magomed and mauled him, Probably aware of these comments and the fact that the story of his sessions with Makhachev have made their way to the public, Magomed seemingly confirmed this.
Если бы Царукян выйдет против Ислама Махачева, то какие шансы, большие шансы у кого на победу, как думаешь?
Ну, скажу честно, то, что я думаю, пока Ислам есть, там Ислам очень сильный парень, я это сам на себе почувствовал. Я думаю, у него Ислама выиграть ему будет очень тяжело.
Ну, большие шансы, получается, на Исламе, да? Больше шансов у него.
Естественно, да.
Все.
DC and Chael Sonnen react to the announcement of Merab versus O'Malley rematch. The Georgian cardio machine will defend his title against the former champion in June, and it will take place in New Jersey. Fans' reactions were mixed on this one, with some being quite happy about seeing them fight each other for the second time, and others being annoyed as it's not a necessary fight to make. But we know how Merab feels about this, as he's been calling for a rematch with O'Malley even before his fight against Dumar. His reasoning is pretty clear here. It's simply a matchup with a fighter with a big name in the division who's not the most stylistically difficult opponent for him to face. So why not get another title defense in, especially with someone who can still guarantee to get a good amount of attention from many fans, and give their fight a higher degree of engagement, which directly affects his purse as a champion. As far as what the actual fight will look like, it's an entirely different topic of discussion. DC and Chael have some questions for O'Malley and his potential to oppose Merab.
The reason Merab was able to be so successful against O'Malley was because he was able to take him down, right? That injury, if you cannot operate fully on your feet, is hard to defend takedowns. Granted, if he had an injury, if he was supposed to be out for 10 months, Chael, like you said, we are October, November, December, January, February, March, April. We're 8 months from the last fight, right? 8 months from the last fight. They will fight again when it's supposed to be 2 more months before he's even ready to start training to come back from the injury. So for me, that's a little bit concerning. I do have some questions though, and one being, how does he defend wrestling or train the wrestling when he's still supposed to be recovering from the hip injury that really ultimately cost him his championship in September?
Daniel, whenever we're going to do a rematch, everybody involved must be ready to answer the same question. Now, the good news is there's no wrong answer. You just have to have an answer. And that simply is, what is going to be different next time?
Yep.